I wanted to talk about my reading goals for 2023, and honestly, they have more to do with finances and with book purchasing than actually reading. So currently, just to kind of establish like where I am right now, I have 571 unread books in my apartment. To break that down, according to Storygraph, 318 of those are nonfiction, 246 are fiction, and apparently there's 7 that Storygraph is confused about. And one of the things I've been doing a lot of this year is mood reading, and that has been a lot because of this book, The Blue Tent, which I'll talk about in a day or two. But there's a quote from here which says, "One book opens the other. Read many books and compare them throughout, and then you get the meaning. By reading one book alone, you cannot get it. You cannot otherwise decipher it." And so I've been, more so than usual, not building TBRs and just allowing myself to go from one book to another, to another, to another, depending on my mood, depending on the things that one book reminds me of that makes me think of this other book I really want to read and leads me to this other book, which I'm also interested in. And I have so many books in my apartment that I am able to do that easily and perfectly happily because of all the books I own. It leads me to the next part about finances. So a little bit of a backstory, and this is pretty personal, so whatever. But when I graduated from college, I moved to the North Shore of Chicago, which was a very affluent suburb, and it was very difficult not to be able to participate in all the things that everyone was participating in because I was a first-year teacher. And so basically, instead of saying like no to stuff, I did stuff, and I ended up gobs and gobs and gobs of debt. And that credit card debt stayed with me and followed me until last year. Last year at Christmas was the day that I was officially free of credit card debt. Credit card debt is completely gone, and I've maintained that over the course of the year. So that has kind of switched me now to where I have been the past year, which is adjusting to living like within my means and basically not spending a credit card when I wanted to buy something. However, that did end up with me like borrowing from myself in some ways and like overspending rather than saving. And so my goal for next year is to transition, like I'm making progress, right? From using a credit card to spending my own money, but too much of it for what I want. And so my goal for next year is to basically cover my savings accounts first and just be more mindful about what I'm just spending money on so that I'm prioritizing my future self rather than myself right now, who hears about a book on BookTube and needs to have it immediately. With that being said, I actually went through because this channel is monetized, and so I'm kind of getting ready to do taxes for 2022. And I just need to figure out like how much have I spent on books since this channel has been monetized. And then because I've done that, I might as well just go all the way and figure out what it is for the entire year of 2022. That was terrifying. And that, I think, is the biggest cause of like the ambition that I have to make a change for next year, because that number had a freaking comma in it, and that is absolutely horrible. I have so many goals when I think about like what do I want my life to look like. Reading is so important to me. I have so many other interests that are super important to me as well. Yoga and backpacking and hiking and board games and spending time with family and having an awesome relationship with my nephew as he grows up and all this sort of stuff. And another huge one is travel. Like now that I am free of credit card debt, and now that I have met so many amazing people from all over the world, and you know, I just feel like I've been a teacher for 14 years now, so every year my salary gets slightly bigger, and I just feel like I have more freedom to travel and to just like explore the world and, you know, do the things that were not allowed for, you know, a year or so during COVID. And I know we're still during COVID, but you know what I mean. And I can't do that stuff if I am like bleeding money by like basically buying books all the freaking time. Like every paycheck, some money goes towards books, and it's not a massive amount at any given time. It's just like one book here, one book there, one book there, whatever. And so in my calculations, I did not include Parnassus, which is my first edition book club, which I will maintain. And I also did not include any in-person bookstore purchases because that would just be too hard to find. I would have to go through all my bank account statements to try and figure that out. So the number that I calculated with how much I've spent this year on books is only from online book purchases. So it's much smaller than the reality. And when I calculated like my take-home money times 26 pay periods during the year, and then I took that amount and I took the amount that I spent on books in 2022 and I divided them, I got that I have spent 6% of my take-home money on books. That is horrible. Like, I don't even know why I'm smiling because I should be like crying, but like I just don't think that's responsible, and I don't think that it's leading me towards my goals that I would like to have for myself or the type of person that I want to be, especially since I do have plenty of reading material plus an amazing library. Like, I don't need to continue with this level of purchasing because I'm good. I have plenty of reading stuff. I like more. I'm not saying. Anyway, let's just move on to talk about what the future is going to look like as far as my book purchases for 2023. First of all, I don't want to use the word ban because I've tried that and it fails every year. So I think I've showed you guys this before. Basically, I made a book tracking sheet in my bullet journal. Excuse me. And I'm aiming for 10 books from my shelf that are currently unread that I will read each month. That's my goal. And then when I get to the sparkly line, I will get a prize. And I have pulled some stuff that I already own but have not opened yet, and I put it in like a little bin, which maybe I'll grab that later and I can show you some of the stuff that I plan to use as prizes for myself, like a grown-up prize box. Okay, because we're trying to be positive here, right? It's not a ban, because then that's focusing on what you can't have, but instead we're focusing on filling this out and then we get a prize. But honestly, more importantly, we're coloring in boxes, and that's very motivating, right? So if I'm able to read 10 books a month that are my own, that would be 120 a year, and that would bring down my TBR. I also have a column where I'm going to put how many books came in and how many books came out, and just try and keep that balance, kind of in the way that Heidi does on her channel. But one book, one review actually gave me another idea, which is that I'm going to create a list of all the books that come in this year. That includes gifts, books I purchased, whatever. And basically, if there are books on this list, I cannot purchase any more books until I have read the books that have come in this year. So it's not really a ban as much as read what came in and then you can buy more. So yeah, there's no limit on a certain number of books per month that I can buy. But one, I'm going to be motivated not to because of what I found out about how much I spent on books this year. And then two, there is the slight limit where I had to have read all incoming books before I go out and get new ones. Also, another thing that I think will be helpful is as I'm watching BookTube and people who I adore are just raving about books. I mean, number one, I can request them at my library, but the problem is with a lot of the people I love so much are from the UK or from a different country, but a lot of you are from the UK, and we have a lot of the same books, but there are certain books that are just really hard to get my hands on. Even if I look in the whole state of Michigan, sometimes the library won't have them, and they are books that I would have to purchase if I was interested in reading them. So I'm going to create a wish list of books that I hear about that I want to purchase, and then it just sits here and I can ask people for them for gifts, or I can just use it when I go to a bookstore when I am allowed and just kind of reference it and use it to basically just make a purchase when I'm ready, but not have to do that instantaneous splurge, because sometimes I think if I waited a little bit, then I would be okay and I wouldn't need it in that very moment. I'm hoping that this can be a very positive approach to reading what I own, buying fewer books, and then doing what I love, traveling, meeting people. One of my favorite memories from last summer was meeting Kim, and then like a day or two later I met Alex. Those were amazing experiences, and that is what I can do more of if I am more careful with the money that I have been given through all the opportunities that I have. So anyway, that's my plan. I'm curious what other ideas you have as far as limiting my book purchases, but in like a really positive way. I know that Olivia Savannah is doing some sort of like a competition where she's getting negative points for reading books on her shelf, and then positive points for acquiring things, and whichever person, she's doing it with one other person, whoever has the lowest number of points at the end of the year will win. I don't know what they're winning, but it's just like a competition. I don't know, I think that I just need to make it fun and positive, and that will help me a lot in 2023. So let me know your thoughts so I can kind of like tweak things as I go. I might even do like maybe each month I can do something monthly to make that month feel like a challenge in and of itself. Not quite sure, but I just wanted to update you guys on my reading plans and book purchasing plans for 2023. See you guys tomorrow.